I've been noticing something a lot lately that is really starting to bother me, and I want to talk about it. I feel like the more I am honest with myself and the more I surround myself with authentic, solid people in my life, the more I'm starting to notice how full of everybody else is. I was originally going to make this video about the 20 atheists versus the Jordan Peterson debate, as this is a skeptic channel, and I like talking about stuff like that. But I feel like at this point, it's like beating a dead horse that keeps getting beaten over and over again because there's so many videos about that on the internet. But watching that video really highlights and reinforces the fact that so many of these people that we look up to online, that we see in day-to-day life, they put on this mask in order to manipulate people that are following them by preying on their insecurities. Now, it's very clear to see in that video that Jordan Peterson is not a real Christian. A real Christian will admit that they're a Christian to somebody right to their face. They're not going to hide their religious background. The whole purpose of being a Christian is you want to spread the good news. You don't want to hide the fact that you believe Jesus is your savior. Now, I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious at all. If you've watched any of my videos on this channel, you'll know that I'm not a religious person. I still have my morals intact. I still believe in doing the right things in life. I don't want to get into subjective and objective morality in this video, but I really want to talk about how so many people are so dishonest nowadays, and it leads a lot of people astray. It feels almost alienating to be a person who lives a life true to themselves. It's almost like you get rewarded for being dishonest. These people get millions of followers, they make tons of money, and they're all liars. The sad thing about it, and part of the reason why I'm making this video, is so many people don't see what's being done. They don't see the game that's being played on them. They just believe a lot of the things that are being told to them because somebody like Jordan Peterson, he does that gish gallop and word salad and he throws big words at people. And I think that he thought in this specific debate, he was going to be able to do that to these younger people and they were just going to be mesmerized by his words. Because there are a lot of people out there that are mesmerized by Jordan Peterson's words. And if you actually dissect what he's saying, he's not really saying much of anything, which was highlighted by that one guy. I think his name was Danny. He basically told him you're a whole lot of nothing. And I don't think he was referring to him being a nothing as a person. I think he was basically saying, you're not bringing anything to this argument. Nothing you're saying has any substance. He was just redefining terms and moving the goalpost and committing a bunch of fallacies in his arguments. And I think this is a serious problem with our society. There's so many lies on the internet. There's so much stuff that goes on in our day-to-day where people sell you a fake image of themselves. Over the past few months, I have really limited my amount of time on Instagram, Facebook. I have a business and I kind of need to use it online to promote my business, but I've been doing my best to just run off of my business through word of mouth because it's really starting to weigh on me how full of crap people are. I don't see it as much in my day-to-day because I don't associate with a lot of people. But when I do talk to a lot of people in person, I notice a lot of people are trying to uphold some sort of image and they're trying to appear like they're bigger than they actually are. I feel like at one point in my life, I may have been one of these types of people where I would try to act like I'm bigger than I am. I would try to present a certain type of image. And I think in many ways, I probably still do that to a point. But I find it really difficult to just be honest with yourself and be honest with other people because so many people are just completely and utterly full of shit. And the thing about all these people being full of shit is there's so many people that buy into this shit. People give their hard-earned dollars to people who are lying to them. You got these fake gurus online. There's so many of them. Even in this day and age with all the information that we have, people still buy into this stuff. And as much as I'm happy to be a skeptic, there's a lot of times where I wish I was just the way I used to be, where my head was just buried in the sand and I was less enlightened about how the world actually works. I don't know how many people are actually going to end up watching this video. I'm sure a lot of you might agree with me and might actually think the same things I'm thinking. A lot of times I post on YouTube because it's an outlet for my feelings. I don't get a chance to talk to a lot of people. I find a lot of you out there are like my friends. I don't know if that sounds sad, but it's a lot easier for me to talk to the camera at this point than it is to converse with actual people nowadays. That being said, I still have some good people around me who are honest and they're upfront with me and I'm able to have actual conversations with them. I do have good relationships with people, but I find it really frustrating when I go online and I see so many people just being so full of crap. And after watching this debate, it inspired me to make this video. And I think there can't be enough videos online exposing this kind of stuff for what it is. I will continue to be honest and true to myself until the day that I die, but I'm getting really frustrated with how the world's going. I can't believe how many people lie about things. I can't believe the way our society is. I feel like a lot of it has to do with social media. I was gonna make a video about how I used to watch Joe Rogan and how I've noticed how much he's declined since like 5 years ago. I used to love watching his show. I used to like the interviews he used to do. I found that he had some intellectual people on there. He had a lot of inspirational people on there. And like over the past 5 years or so, it's almost like he's just pushing a narrative. And it comes across like most of these guys, they're just getting paid by somebody to insert a bunch of buzzwords that piss off people that don't really look very deep into what's actually being said. And this is the one thing that I find that I'm the most passionate about. It really bothers me when I see people that are falling for things that I may have fallen for at one point in my life. And this might come across as some kind of rant, and maybe in many ways it might be, but I'm hoping that when I make videos like this, somebody that may be falling victim to some of these tactics might actually think like, what I'm saying has some substance and might start thinking about the people that they're following. We're living in a time where mainstream media is pretty much what's online. It's not the news that you're turning on the TV. But people think that this like mainstream media is the one pushing all the misinformation. But the mainstream media nowadays is a lot of these podcasts people are watching. It's a lot of these influencers that are supposed to be intellectuals. And to be honest, someone like Jordan Peterson is more of a pseudo-intellectual than an actual intellectual. And I'm not saying he's not an intellectual because he's obviously a lot more educated than I am. He has a lot more credentials behind his name, but the way he goes at topics, especially over the past 3 or 4 years, it's a very pseudo-intellectual approach. In that video, somebody asked him if he believed in something, and he said, "What do you mean by believe?" And the guy literally defined it and said, "Do you think it's to be true?" And Jordan Peterson says to him, "That's a very circular definition." How can you hear somebody say something like that and think they're being genuine? You know, now all of a sudden Joe Rogan is becoming a Christian from what I'm seeing on the internet. Joe Rogan was never a religious person. How come all of a sudden now there's this uprising in right-wing politics that usually aligns with a certain religious demographic? Now all of a sudden these guys are all becoming Christians. I'm supposed to believe that there isn't money behind this. Isn't the whole aspect of religion supposed to be absent of getting wealthy? Obviously these guys are making money off of what they're promoting. They've said it specifically many times in videos. They don't believe in this type of stuff. There's been a lot of mockery of religion. It's interesting being on the other end of this because at the time when I used to listen to people mock religion, I used to get really offended because at the time I was a Christian. And now I'm not religious at all. I don't believe in any of this stuff. I think it's a perfect way to divide people. I think it's a perfect way to create a lot of anger. It's a great way for people to be funneled into a lot of scams, which is very apparent nowadays. It's also another way that prevents a lot of people from getting therapy. I see a lot of people who struggle and they refuse to get therapy. And I was one of these people because I thought I could just do it through some kind of spiritual means. I thought God was going to protect me and God was going to help me get through. And at the end of the day, I didn't get through my problems that I'm still working through right now without talking to an actual professional that was educated in how to deal with things and how to cope with certain stressors in life. And I don't care how many views I get on this video, I'm going to consistently post videos about this type of topic because I think it's really important to shine a light on a lot of the dishonesty that goes on in the world and to look at things through a skeptic's lens. And I'm just finding that the more and more I become skeptical and the more honest I am with myself and other people, the more alienated I feel in life. I believe that all people have the capability to do the extra work and actually look into what they're prescribing to and becoming more skeptical. And a lot of times it just takes a video like this, talking about these type of topics and resonating with people and trying to verify if things are true, because so many things nowadays are bullshit. It's almost like the people that are selling you the bullshit aren't even trying to hide that they're lying. They're basically telling you they're full of shit. Or that could just be me with this skeptical mind who's already been duped by all of these tactics in the past. And now that I have these tools, I can see through this bullshit for what it really is. I'm glad that that video aired, and I'm really hoping that some of the people that were once like me, because I read the 12 Rules for Life, I was really into Jordan Peterson at one point. I thought that he stood for something. I thought that he stood for, people changing their life in a positive direction. There were a lot of things that he did that I don't agree with. You're never gonna agree with someone right across the board. And there were some things about him that I don't like, and I'm not really going to discuss them in this video. I'm sure anybody that is watching this is going to know what I'm talking about. But now it's like, I can't get behind anything he does anymore. When I watch him talk, I know he's full of it. He is not a representation of Christianity. Like I said before, I'm not a Christian, and I'm not really necessarily defending Christianity. I do think it does good for some people, but he's 100% not a real Christian. And that's why they changed the name from 20 Atheists versus Jordan Peterson, because he wouldn't even admit to being a Christian. And that's because he's playing a game and he doesn't want to admit that he's most likely an atheist anyways. Just like a lot of the people that go online and try to influence religious people by pretending to be religious. It's just a show. We saw that with Andrew Tate. When do you ever see Andrew Tate talking about his religious beliefs anymore? These guys, they sell you the dream that they're these rich guys, they worked hard, they grinded it out, they play this character on social media. They're just as full of crap as everybody else, and the only reason why they made money is because they manipulated guys who were lonely and funneled them into online debauchery, and they were very vocal about it. But for some reason, we're living in a society where people look up to guys like this, and that is a huge problem. And as an older guy, it really bothers me to see younger people idolize people like this. You're idolizing someone who you think believes in something that you believe to be masculine or religious, and the person's actually not a good representative of that specific religion or of being masculine. At one point in my life, I used to idolize all of these billionaires. I used to idolize people like Elon Musk. I still like Steve Jobs because, he did a lot for the world. I mean, sometimes we could argue that smartphones aren't the best invention because of social media and the negative effects it has on people. And as I'm getting older, the person that I look up to the most is actually my father, because my dad was always honest. He worked hard, and he was an example of what a real man is to me. He went to work. He did everything he possibly could with what he knew. He came from another country. He didn't speak English at first. He did whatever he could for us. My dad's the guy that I look up to now. I look up to some of my friends that have kids. I don't look up to these billionaires. I don't look up to these bullshitters online. I don't look up to guys that I see that are flexing in front of everyone and acting like they're, hot. There's so many people out there, they drive fancy cars, they act like they're rich, they talk about everybody, and that's all they have at the end of the day. They just got material possessions. And, if you're a young guy and you're watching some guy online and maybe you don't have like a good male role model in your life, these people are not good role models. These people are not leading you to a good spot in life. It's going to make you feel insecure about yourself. You're always going to feel like you're not good enough because they're lying to you. We need to get to a point in life where we have some more positive role models and we're promoting more authenticity. And I'm going to do my best on this channel, even though I don't have a huge following, to promote more authenticity and to promote honest, hardworking values and to look at things in a more skeptical manner. I hope this video wasn't too much about the 20 Atheists versus Jordan Peterson. That was going to be my topic originally. I had the idea for this video before, but I wanted to kind of amalgamate the two ideas together because watching Jordan Peterson and his Gish Gallop and his word salad and his constant redefinition of terms and not admitting that he's an actual Christian reinforced the fact that so many people are full of crap and we shouldn't be looking up to people like this. That's all I got for this video. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments. If you want to discuss the topic in this video, even if you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you want to like and subscribe to this video, it helps me reach more people with this message and it helps me with the algorithm. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening. See you in the next video. I'm out.